Hello, and welcome back to the Your Money Habit podcast, where we're going to be having real conversations that unlock the hidden beliefs keeping you stuck, causing stress, and holding you back financially. Beliefs that might not even be true. So, most of us have learnt to keep these thoughts buried, not realizing that so many others are silently struggling with the same fears and doubts. So, here we're going to uncover those beliefs and shine a light on mindsets that lead to true freedom and peace around money. And today we have our guest Jeannine with us. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Jeannine.
How
So,
are you?
what we're going to do is we're just going to have like a real conversation about your experiences. Now, your experiences are quite a bit different than most people's in that you have actually lost your husband. So that has put you on a different type of journey than a lot of people who are either in relationships or divorced and that kind of thing. So, yeah, your journey is a little bit different than that. So we're going to start first, if it's okay with you, with talking about your childhood. So when you were growing up. And I believe
Hmm.
that you said that your mum was sick a lot,
Yes,
and that
yes,
kind of had an impact on you.
right. She had epilepsy ever since she was 7 years old. So I, my sister says you were born old, and me, meaning that I never really had a childhood because I always had to, help wash the dishes, help make the beds, and because she was sick a lot, and it was not her fault, but it was just the fact. And then when the babies came along, like my two sisters and my brother, um, I'm 14 years older than my brother. So I
So you are
helped.
the oldest child.
I am the oldest child.
So there was
Yes.
that a lot of responsibility on you to help the day-to-day running of the household.
Right, right, right. Exactly. Changing diapers. And I know that sounds strange at, 6 and 8 years old, but that's just the way it was.
Well, I guess that's what they needed you to do, but did that have an impact on your schooling?
Yes, it did have an impact because in our household, it wasn't so much studying and getting your schoolwork done as to what let's fix supper and let's wash dishes and you know clean the house and things like this.
So that was more of a priority.
Exactly. Exactly.
And do you feel that I guess that interruption to your education has um, played a part in your sort of job choices and your financial life?
Oh, definitely, definitely. In fact, before my mom passed away, I called her and I said, Mom, thank you. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because you trained me to be what I am today, a caregiver. And
We're
that's
getting
the way I,
education.
yeah, yeah, it was, we call it street smart.
Well, street smart is important. I'll definitely give you that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm a survivor, that's for sure.
So, do you feel that then, in the situation that you grew up with, that there were certain money beliefs that you had, or, um, you know, ideas about or expectations of what your financial life would look like, or what money is?
No, no, because my parents would always, you know, take their bills and go to another room, close the door, do the bills. We had nothing, we had no idea how to pay bills or rent or anything.
So, so you had no sort of financial education from them. They kind of took that and hid it somewhere.
Exactly.
And what did you
Exactly.
guys think of that as children?
Yeah, well, we really didn't know what to think because we we didn't know any different, you know. You just, if you grew up like that, you just didn't know any different.
So what would you say is your first experiences then with money? Did you have like little like paying jobs when you were a teenager or anything like that?
Well, now I did. I went to work when I was 16 at Kmart, and I would, bring home my money, and I would have some gas money, but Dad would always put money back. We would put money in like a like a little bank for just like Christmas money or whatever. And then the rest he would put into the cedar chest. It was just like a little chest. And we would keep it. Now, when I say I only made like what, $1.15 an hour, whatever, this was many years ago. I mean, I'm 64, so I was 16 then. Yeah. So
So you
when
kind
I
of come home and then bring the money and they'd give you a bit of like fuel money and then that was it. They kind of put the rest aside.
exactly, exactly.
So did you
Hmm.
have the idea that your family was well off, comfortable, not well off? Was there any sort of
Uh,
feeling?
we were, yeah, we never really wanted for anything. I mean, we always had food on the table. The lights were always on. We always had heat. I mean,
So not
yeah,
too bad, not too uncomfortable when it came to the finances.
not living with mom and dad.
Not living with mom
Okay.
and dad. But then things changed, right?
Oh, yeah, things changed when I got married.
So do you want to talk us through that? Like what you kind of noticed changed when you did get married?
Yes. Well, you move from your mom and dad's house to my husband's mom and dad. David was in the army, so I lived with them for a while. And it was just like his dad, I hate to say he was an alcoholic, but he was an alcoholic. And if I would come home from work and his car was home, I knew he had either gotten fired or quit. I mean, there was several times that we didn't have gas because he didn't like heat because he didn't pay the heating bill.
So
Or
this was your father-in-law?
yes,
Oh,
yes, yeah.
that was a very different experience than what you were
It
used to.
it was very different. It was very different. Yes, yeah, kind of scary,
That's
but
pretty scary.
hmm yeah, that didn't last but like 6 months or whatever. And I moved to Tennessee with David. He's like, you're coming up here with me. So, but then we weren't really we weren't really money smart either because of his background and my background. We were just like kids. We had no idea what to do with money. I mean, we knew that we needed to pay rent and we knew that we needed to pay the light bill, but it just, the money wasn't, there wasn't not a lot of money to be made.
Mm. Even though
Hmm.
he was you said he was in the military?
Yes. Now, the military just back then, it did not pay a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I went to work. I went to work as a waitress, and my survival mode, of course, would kick in, and I would eat at work where it would free up money to buy groceries at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. And so I think you said to me before that being married, you kind of had this idea that you were like you were the wife and that your husband would take care of the finances.
Right, right. Yeah. I was always raised that the man makes all the money decisions and like the work decisions. If David said move, I started packing and we would move. And
Wow.
when I say move, I don't mean like a down the street move. I mean like we lived in Georgia or Tennessee or whatever, and we would move like to Oklahoma, where he had went to work in the oil field after the military. And then we moved back to Georgia to help take care of his mom. And then we would move to Nebraska because he he liked the West.
Oh, really? And so did you
Yeah.
find that every time, I mean, that's a pretty costly exercise moving, especially moving states as well.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. Yes. And, lots of times we would sell everything in our home, you know, to move.
So you'd sell everything, but then you'd have to buy it back again.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Apart
Yeah.
from being unsettling, that's also pretty expensive.
It was unsettling. It was expensive. It was, yeah, but I didn't really know any different, you know.
And you did that when you had the children as well?
Oh, sure. Oh,
Mm.
sure. Yeah.
Wow, you've really had quite a journey. So then your husband actually got sick.
Yes. We moved to, he was a policeman. He finally, I don't want to say settled down, but he finally settled down into a career and was a policeman, and he absolutely loved it. Now, of course, there still wasn't a lot of money to be made in police work, but he loved it. And we moved from like Hastings or Harvard, Nebraska, to Valentine, Nebraska, which was like a 4 hour commute. And after we moved up there, we were there maybe a year, and we bought a house and everything. Everything was, going really good. And he got diagnosed with cancer.
Mm. What with
Yeah.
everyone else, right?
Right. Right. Yep. He had a cough. We went to a convention in Columbus, Nebraska, and he started coughing. And we had went to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he said, "This chicken is just making me cough." And I'm like,
Mm.
mm, "That's kind of weird." And he just kept coughing and kept coughing. So he went to when we got back to Valentine, he went back. He went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, it's not a cold. It's not the flu." He's like, "I'm not sure." So um, he said, "I'm going to send you to Carney for some tests." And he sent him for some tests, and it did, they did a biopsy on his lung, and it came back lung cancer.
So it kind of just came on suddenly.
Well, now thinking, I say it came on suddenly, but thinking back, um, David had some ear issues, and they would do X-rays of his lungs and whatnot. And many, many, many years ago, they said he had a dry spot on his lung. Now, thinking back, I wonder if that dry spot, as they called it, was cancer way back then. And when I say way back, I mean like 30 years ago. I mean,
And it just kind of been sitting there.
right, right, because his doctor told him that it was a very slow growing, slow.
Yeah, you said that. And did you also I think you said that he was given a clean bill of health at some point.
Oh, yeah. He was given a clean bill of health. After his operation, they just took the upper lobe of his lung out and they said well, they kind of spoon feed you. He said it'll never come back here. Well, here was the word. We didn't think that it would come back at all, but it metastasized to his brain.
Oh my goodness. So at this point now you've got I'm guessing because I mean you're obviously in America and I'm in Australia and so our medical system works quite differently. So did this also then put financial strain on you or was everything okay with health insurance and things?
No, well, it no, it was very hard. Um, we were in Nebraska, of course, when he got diagnosed and everything, and they did not take his. They did a exploratory surgery in Nebraska to see where the cancer was, and it had grown up into his shoulder blade and everything. So they just closed him back up. They didn't. They said we're going to do chemo and radiation for life expectancy right now. And so that's what they did. And we decided after they did that, we were going to move back home in case anything was to happen to him, that I would be around family and friends, that I grew up with, which is,
Was moving
right here.
to Georgia.
Exactly. So we moved back to Georgia and we got a hold to a hospital here and a doctor, and they just went in and took the upper lobe of his lung out. And that's when they said it will not come back here. And it didn't. But 6 months later, he had got a headache. I mean, like a severe headache, really, really bad. And then he had always gone to see his brother in Alabama, which is only like 40 miles away. And he came in and he said, he handed me his keys. Now he had been driving, he would drive, I would drive, whatever, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm not driving anymore." He said, I lost my way to my brother's. He said, "I found it." He said, "But there's something wrong."
Oh. So this
So
was
we went,
months later after he was told that
that was
he wouldn't come back.
correct.
Right.
Right, right. And we did go back to the doctor and they found two tumors, and they took a tumor off the front and a tumor off the back. Yeah.
Oh no. And so sorry to ask you this, but how much
No.
until he passed away from that point?
Oh, now it was okay. So he was diagnosed with cancer in May of 2010. We moved back here November of 2010, and he was operated on right away. I said 2010, 2006. And he did not pass away until 2011. So we were granted 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
said that you'd also purchased a house.
Oh yeah.
So
The
during
house.
this point you thought everything was going to be okay and then you'd purchased a house.
This was before the diagnosis of cancer, and he was just working. I was working. We were just paying our bills like anybody else. And after the cancer diagnosis, our banker said, because we kept them in the loop. I mean, it was a small town, so they knew, and he was a policeman, so they knew. You really need to put this house on the market. So we did, and nobody, we couldn't we couldn't even give it away. And I don't want to say give it away, but we couldn't even, nobody would take it because I think in their heart of hearts that they knew eventually that we would move back to Georgia and they could get it on the tax auction because I mean we couldn't pay for it. They gave David a ultimatum at the police department. Either you can come back to work or you can draw your Social Security. And he couldn't really come back to work.
So that
Mhm.
really changed everything for you pretty drastically.
It did. It did. We at that time we moved when we moved back to Georgia. We lived in a trailer for a little while, but then we moved out to our my grandmother's home because my uncle said there would be, you don't have to pay rent. Everything will be okay. You just take care of it and you can live here for rent free. And that's where David passed away at was in our home there. And everything went good there until my uncle decided to, now David's already gone. So this was like 2011. And maybe 3 or 4 months after that, my uncle decides he's going to retire. Well, he said, I have to make up the money from working. So I'm going to have to charge you rent at $600 a month. And I'm like, oh, well, I wasn't drawing David's Social Security and I was working, I was caregiving.
So
I
who
wasn't making,
looking at after who were you looking after at that point?
I was looking at taking care of Austin.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happened so your husband passes away, and I'm guessing he had the bigger income at the time, and then you had um like lower paid jobs. And so
Correct.
now you were kind of reliant on his income as well.
Exactly.
Now you're at this point where, hang on a second, it's all on me.
Hmm. Yes. And I thought I was good because he had his, he didn't have a lot of insurance money. If he had gotten, I hate to say if he'd have gotten killed on the job, I probably would have been set for life. But when his job went, so did his insurance. Now they did let us keep $20,000 insurance. Now we paid for that every month, of course, and but I was not very smart with that money either.
Oh dear. Are you willing
Oh,
to share kind of what happened with it?
sure, sure. At the same time, my son that was living in Georgia um, was not financially stable, and he had gotten behind on his bills. And the deal was, Mom, since Dad is gone, you're not going to be getting any tax money left. You're because you won't have anything to tax, and uh, I will pay you so much money until we get this paid off. So I lent him over half of the insurance money. Actually, I didn't lend it to him. We went to each individual place and I paid it off. And one of the creditors said, "Son, do you know how blessed you are?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." Well, we got the first payment from the first tax, but no more, no more after that.
So that was it.
That was it.
So
That
you're
was
on
it.
your own now. half of the insurance money is now gone.
Well, plus I made another big mistake. I worked on my grandmother's home. I mean, when I say worked on it, I meant a lot, like putting in central heat and ceiling fans and things, because I didn't, now this was before my uncle said that he would charge rent. I didn't think I was going to move anywhere. That was just going to be my home.
So you've kind of invested into this property thinking this is where you're going to be able to stay, and
Exactly.
that's not what ended up happening. So that's also
No.
come out of the insurance money as well.
Yes. So at this point now, I don't have insurance money. I'm just relying on myself.
So how did that feel?
Um, well, I've never had to do without anything because I would pet sit and I would care give. So it just, always money always seemed to be there, not a lot, but my rent has always been paid. Now I after after my uncle said I have to pay $600 a month rent, I moved to an apartment.
Oh, so
So
you're like, I'm not doing this, I'm moving out.
exactly, exactly, which is where I'm at now, and I absolutely love it. So I should have done that a long time ago.
So would you say though that these decisions that you now had been making, that had your husband been alive, you would have been kind of discussing them, or he would have been making those decisions um
He was,
for you,
yes,
or with you, or
no, for me, yeah. He always, if David said move, we moved. I was always raised where the man was the man of the house and you did what he said. Now, I know this is very old school, but
it's
it's just
probably
the way.
not as old school as we think. I'm sure that still today there's plenty of women who are still in that situation where they're essentially believing that their husband has the right answers. And I'm not going to say in all cases, but in a lot of cases, that still is the way it is.
Sure, sure.
So, but
Hmm.
now it was up to you. Now you had to make these choices yourself. And I'm guessing from what you're saying, you were particularly trusting about people's honesty in either paying you back or that you would be able to stay in the place that you had been living.
Exactly. Exactly. Which neither one happened.
So has that had any like kind of bearing on how you feel about people, or did it and then you've been able to move through that?
Oh, I've been able to move through it somewhat. My son, of course, I love him and I always will. And we've gotten past the I don't bring it up, he doesn't bring it up, you know. Um, my uncle has now passed and we never really cleared anything up, you know. He could never understand why I moved from a house to an apartment, but I said because it's cheaper, and he's like, okay,
Oh, so I never really thought about what you said. So he was retiring and then he was going to charge you rent and then he was going to be reliant on that rent money that he was going to charge you.
exactly, exactly. He was gonna make up. He needed to. He didn't need to. He made really good money, but he said he wanted to make up the money that he was making at work because when you retire, you don't get
Mm,
all the money that you're making work.
no,
So.
So his plan was then he would charge you the rent, and you were like, I think I better move out.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I couldn't have paid at then, I couldn't have paid $600 a month rent if I wanted to,
Mm.
because you're you're paying rent, you're uh you had to pay for the trash being taken off, and the electricity bill was high, the gas bill, like we had uh like fuel for the gas, uh, cable, you had to have, your internet. And then out there, you still had to have a landline because you couldn't get cell phone service.
Ah,
Yeah.
all of those
So when I moved,
still had to be paid for.
right, right. So when I moved to town, because that was out in the country, when I moved to an apartment, there was the rent and it's total electric. So you're paying your electric bill and you have internet, and I mean, you have your cell phone bill, but that's it.
So it was actually that's interesting. You would normally think that living in the country would be cheaper than in the city, but not in this case.
Not in this case.
See,
Nope.
it's interesting that again, there's that perception, like we have these perceptions of how things should be, and they're not actually that way in reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because uh, with my apartment, there's a what we call a dumpster, when they come and, it's just in with the rent. The water bill is in with the rent. You just pay.
No, we don't have that happen here very much. We pay the rent and then everything else gets on top of that for the month.
Oh,
Yeah. So I guess there's some people who probably have some sort of, maybe they're living in a granny flat or something and those things are included. But yeah, mostly it's on top of that as well. So
mm.
so it's
Yeah. Now, some places may be, you
yeah.
know, some places, but I happen to live in a place where they're very I have great landlords, and they do pay for the garbage pickup and the water.
Oh, well, you found a nice spot then.
Yes, yes, and I love it. I
Oh, that's
love
good.
it.
That's good. It's all turned out all right in the end.
Right, that's right. And I love coming home from work and the grass be cut, and it just
Definitely.
yeah.
I tried mowing once about 25 years ago for 5 minutes. That was as much as I could take.
Oh, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
definitely not none of that for me. So tell
yeah.
me, on your way, at some point you decided to take control of, obviously you found yourself in this situation. And now you said, I better take control of my financial future here. Was there a specific time that you realized that you needed to learn more about managing money or the way that you felt about it?
I knew it all the time in the back of my mind. And at our church one time we had a Dave Ramsey. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
Dave
yeah,
Ramsey?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I took a course, and so we after I took that course, um it just it opened my eyes to, paying bills and everything. And oh, I skipped one big part. I didn't even tell you about the bankruptcy with the house in Nebraska.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that was we did the one that you have to pay back because David was still alive. And I told her, I said, he's passing away. And she's like, I said, we can't do, what is it, chapter 13, where you wipe everything clean. And she said, no, because he is still alive. And you don't really know if he's going to pass or not. And I'm like, yeah,
kind of
we
knew at
kind of
that
know
point,
that.
right? Yeah.
Well, we kind of knew at that point, because at that time he had had a couple of brain operations, and they're like, it he won't last. And I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, we came to terms with it and everything, and we were good with it. And so I said, what happens when he does pass? Then what do I do? So we're paying this bankruptcy back. They're paying all the little bills and everything. And he does pass. And she says, you'll have to come back and file again,
Oh,
and then we'll wipe everything clean. So I had two bankruptcies on my record for 10 years.
so you lost the house, and then you had a bankruptcy to pay off, and then you had another one that you had to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I'm guessing, even though I guess sometimes people think with bankruptcy that means that that's it, you're free and clear, right? But that's not exactly how it works. There's still
No.
like a payment plan that needs to be done, right?
Well, the first one, when he was alive, there was a payment plan that had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But then after he passed, because there was no money left from him, and I was barely, I mean, I was making like 8.50 an hour. It yeah, yeah. I was at Dollar General at that time doing retail because they worked with my hours with me, having to take David, to chemo and to radiation. And, you know, there was lots of stuff that had to be done during those 5 years. Yeah. But after he passed, I went back to caregiving, which still didn't pay a lot of money.
I can't even imagine what that must be like. Like just, I guess this is one of the things like that life just keeps moving on, but bills never stop coming. Even
Mm,
got these major life challenges.
right, right. And because I did have low rent, and I was told that, well, you probably need to, in case you need to buy a car or whatever, you need to build up your credit because you don't have any credit now. And they will let you get credit cards or whatever, even after you file bankruptcy, because everything is wiped clean, but you do have a high interest bill.
So
Well,
you're charged more interest because your credit score is so-called
lower.
worse and like lower meaning worse. And so you
Yes,
get charged more interest on those products.
exactly. Exactly.
And so the credit card idea was to because you didn't personally have your own credit score,
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. I no, I didn't really have my own personal credit score at that time.
because that would have
Now,
been everything that your husband David had taken care of.
correct, correct.
So now you've got to kind of become independent and develop your own credit score and ability to, borrow and things like that.
Exactly. What I will never forget when I went to go get my car that I have, he said, "Ma'am, your credit score, it was like 350." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "You try to find somebody that will lend me the money. I promise I will pay this money. You go work on." I don't know if we can do this without a cosigner. And I said, we're going to do it without a cosigner. We are going to do it without a cosigner because I had nobody, I didn't know who to call. So, I mean, I could have called my daughter, but I didn't want to. I mean, you don't want to borrow money from your daughter.
Mm.
So, yeah, but I got the car, still have the car. She's old, but that's okay.
But she's still reliable, right?
Still alive. She still gets her oil changed. She's paid off now.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm still paying on credit cards. Yeah, I've still made some mistakes though. Um, yeah, big ones. Like I was looking on the internet to find a class uh to teach me how to maneuver around, work online and things like that. I paid $4,000 for a class that I did not learn anything from.
Oh no, I mean that is the
Oh,
problem,
no.
isn't it? Is it that sometimes we kind of, there's these wonderful courses and classes and whatnot, but they're actually not suited to, and I'm not saying that they're not great, they probably are, but they could be better suited to someone who already has a certain level of understanding.
Exactly. Exactly. And I knew there was always money to be made on the internet. I mean, there's people that do it every day, and I wanted to learn it, you know,
So we're going to
but
come to that in a minute. I just want to ask you, firstly, your credit score. So you told me that, and this is one of the things that I like, that talking about money can be a really heavy and confronting subject for people, because our security and our survival basically is tied to it, whether we like it or not. It just is, right? And so
right, right.
most of us spend a lot of time worrying about it. So to kind of have a good note of this, what would you say that you're the most proud about in your financial journey?
My financial journey, my credit score now is very high. It's like in the upper 600s. And I've never been late on a bill. I've always had rent. My lights have always been paid. It's, I've done very well for myself.
So despite everything that's happened, all the not, having a lot of schooling, the parents hiding the bill paying from you, all these moves and stuff and the bankruptcies and, the loss of your husband, you still have managed to come out on top and learn these things.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so would you say, like coming back to the online businesses, would you say that now you've started to have a different view of, or a different belief when it comes to making money?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you have to get with the right people and have to get in the right community, and you have to be with an honest business.
Mm-hmm.
Now I mean, there's a lot of not honest business out there,
And I think you
but
said that also when we were talking before, you've stumbled across some of these other people as well who kind of promise you the world and then you find out that, whoopsie, you've lost all of that too.
exactly, exactly. Yes, yes.
We do need to be super, super careful. I mean, there's definitely some things out there that are good, but sometimes when things seem too good to be true, they most probably are. It's
Oh,
going to take some work, right?
oh, definitely. Now here, 2 years ago, I suppose, you see a lot of crypto, and I didn't know anything about it. And I got messed up with that and lost about $4,000 that I really didn't have. But I finally opened my eyes and said, this is enough of this one.
No, I'm so sorry that that happened to you as well. I mean,
It was a learning curve. It was a learning curve. And not that Bitcoin or crypto, can always be a bad thing, but you have to get with the right people and honest people that can show you the ropes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely cryptocurrency works for people who understand it.
Hmm.
Sure,
Hmm.
there definitely are genuine, honest ones, but then
Right.
there's a lot of these things popping up, and I think it comes down to really doing your homework and understanding it, and not thinking that I'm just going to give someone a bit of money and then I'm going to be like a millionaire,
Right.
next,
Right.
you know,
Because
promising
trust
you that.
yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Always rely on your gut. Always rely on your gut.
But and unfortunately, that means that even when somebody does offer us an opportunity of a true, genuine company, that we can overlook that because we've a bit jaded and we've been, you know, tricked or swindled or whatever too many times, or we just don't trust our judgment anymore.
Sure, sure, exactly.
So, but you've definitely gone, it's okay. I'm in my 60s, but I'm still going to learn this. Somebody offered you the opportunity to start learning to make money online.
Yes.
And I mean, did you know much about computers or how that kind of process worked?
No, not really. Not a lot, but we take the course and you really, dig into it and learn it. It's not an overnight thing. It's taken, several months, but now I'm making some money online.
Well, I mean,
And
I've seen your posting and the way that you've been able to do all of these various like I think you've been using Canva and
oh, love,
making images and
yeah.
writing emails and stuff, which is amazing. And they just keep
Yeah.
getting better and better.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
So would you say that this is kind of like a new lease on life for you?
It is. It is. The little lady that I take care of well, she'll be 95 in March. And after she passes, now I'm committed to her because I love her with my whole heart. And I am committed to her but after that, it will be, it'll be my time freedom.
And so you actually, apart from being a caregiver, you would call yourself a freedom business builder, right?
Exactly, exactly.
And
Because I
so,
built my freedom.
and
Yep,
so you're like, you've taken sort of like the reins and actually are building something for yourself while you're currently working in your other positions, like your caregiving, and then you think you're doing some pet sitting as well.
I do pet sit too as well. I do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So you
It.
feel, how do you feel about this whole process?
I think it's amazing. It is. You learn how to make PDFs, and you play with Canva, and you talk to all kinds of people, and they're just we have the whole world at our fingertips.
I know,
I
it's not
mean,
like the internet's going anywhere anytime soon, is it?
I know, I know. Well, if it wasn't for the internet, I would never have met you.
I
I
know. And
would,
you know what?
I wouldn't do that for the world.
The community that we were in, I feel quite blessed myself because what I was looking for, I couldn't find here. And I just happened to get introduced, come on the call because there's a free mastermind that we go to, which is where I met you. And then we kind of had this little offshoot kind of group where
Uh-huh.
essentially I get to talk to people in all parts of America and in Spain or in Belgium, and here I am just sitting here in Australia in my little office in front of a computer,
Yeah,
and I get to meet all these amazing people. So
I know. And I'm in the
not going
United States
anywhere
in a,
soon.
a little bitty town called Franklin.
And there we go, right? So it's beautiful, and I think that there's 8 billion people on the planet. Not everybody's got internet access, but we are getting to that point where we're trying to build that for other people as well, and that we can support people in growing their businesses as well, not even just their online business, but their traditional businesses as well.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Talked about my mechanic that changes my oil and everything. I talked to him yesterday, about building a website for him and stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
hope he jumps on board with you because
I
I
hope he
mean
does too.
I'm totally excited about what we're using. It's been a massive game changer. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely. And one of the things is that we can do is in the description of this video is we'll actually put in some details where people can find you and um maybe I'm not sure if you I think you said you've committed to at some point writing your book about, a bit more of the details of what your journey has been. Um,
Yes.
so
Yes. I'm working on the book.
we're gonna leave a link where people can find you anyway, even if that's just sort of like jumping on the waiting list for that, but they'll be able to, get in contact with you anyway. So yeah, that would be good as well. Very interesting story. And we've kind of gotten the brief version here, of course. Everybody's, um, I believe you're going to be also doing another talk as well, a bit more about that journey with your husband being unwell and stuff as well. So that would be also good. And maybe people can find that on your site as well. Um,
Sure.
so I guess another question for you is if you could go back and give yourself advice when you were first dealing with all of these challenges, what would you say to yourself?
Do not live family money. Do not live in a family home. And I mean, at that time, obviously, we had no choice. But after all is said and done, I would have moved to an apartment right off the bat. Yeah, right off the bat.
Unfortunately, though, it's great to have. I always say that hindsight's wonderful but useless
Yeah,
because once it's all said and done, what are you going to do about it then, right?
exactly. Exactly. What do you do?
What happens, happened.
Well, everything happens for a reason, and I've grown a lot from it.
I mean, even in the time that I've known you, I can see that as well. And every time I get one of your emails, I get excited. And it's actually, I get a lot of emails, but I I do find it difficult to keep up with all the emails. But every time I see your email pop in, I just go, I'm going to read that. And
Thank you.
remember, I was like, I'm replying to your emails. You're not messaging me back. And then you realized you weren't looking at the right things.
Right. I finally figured that out.
So see, it definitely pays to set these things up with friends as well, right? Because then we can
Exactly.
get it out.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, last question for you. Looking ahead, what gives you confidence about your financial future now?
Wow. Um, just being very proud of myself and being proud of where I've come from and where I'm going to. And yeah, our financial freedom is amazing. It's just, yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself.
Well, I think
Yeah,
you should be. You've come an awful long way and you've gone through so many ups and downs, like a lot of,
yeah. And I've never been one to pat myself on the back, but when you when you come from, you know, being not very money smart to being more money smart and learning how to make and maneuver around the internet. It's amazing. It's very freeing.
And the world's your oyster at that point, isn't it?
Exactly. Yep, it is.
And you get to leave your legacy as well, that any sort of anything that you've learned that you're passing on to other people as well. And I think that's the whole point of this podcast, is that we have these discussions and we pass on that knowledge to people, not in a negative way, because I think that there is too much negativity around it, but more in a, you know, if maybe I'd talked about this sooner, if I'd heard this information sooner, I would have pivoted my thinking or
Right, right. Well, I'm sure there are more widows out there that, have lost their husbands and, well, I'll take my cousin for instance. He passed away and his wife has no idea. Their son moved in their home because she never paid anything. She never paid the house payment, never paid the car payment, never paid the light bill.
yeah.
Well, my mom, the same way when my dad passed. My sister paid everything,
I
you
know
know.
it's really important. I've seen this with other family members and people I've worked with, that really they kind of let the other partner do all of that. But then when something happened and the relationship fell apart, or they lost their partner, they didn't really know what to do. And that's terrifying. So
That
even I
that
think
can
even
be
if you're in a relationship, it's good to have some knowledge and some experience with how this works so that you know what to do.
right, right. Now, even though I didn't bring in the money, I did, I was I paid the bills, so I knew how to pay a light bill. I knew how to pay the rent, things like that.
That's
But
one step ahead, because there are people who don't even know how to do that. They don't
right,
even know who the energy was with, like which company that was with.
exactly, exactly.
So, and nowadays, if it's going to go straight to your email and not even come in the mail, so
Hmm.
this is why we have to have these conversations when we're in relationships, because we kind of need to know what's going on. You don't want to hope for the worst, right? You don't want things to go sour, but you do need to be prepared at some level.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so you definitely, unfortunately, had to work through all of that by yourself, but you've done it. So definitely you should give yourself a good pat in the back there.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing all of this. So I totally appreciate your, candor in this topic, because it isn't easy for people to talk about. Um, but you've done a fantastic job, and I'm sure that people are going to learn from what you've said as well. And also they're going to be able to find you as well. So they can hop over and learn a bit more about you and the things that you're learning.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Well,
appreciate you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you as well. I appreciate it too. And I'm so glad that I met you. And I'm hoping to meet you this year in person. Lo-
That's right. That's right.
So
Yep. We will be in Arizona.
that's right. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fantastic to see all these people, that you met online, and actually get to meet them in real life.
It is you can't even put words to it. It's so amazing. I had such a good time this year in Dallas. It was amazing.
Well, I need a buddy to take care of me in America anyway, so
Right. That's right.
that's what I need. So you'll have to just, hold me by the hand and take care of me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, again, thank you. And yep, I look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that you're going to do from here on out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon.
Okay. All right. Love you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.